Okay, so the reason why this particular pattern diagram is as tall as it is, it's not to show every one of the seven, the 6 string versions of the 5 cage shapes. It's to show the S2L goes on top of the S3L, and then of course you can see from here the S3L goes on top of the S2L, so you could take that and put it right there on top of there anyway, right? And it's going to go directly, but watch out, it's going to go directly string by string from the bottom string to top string to the one pattern, bottom string to the other. That's the wonderful thing about the diatonic. Okay, we want to line those strings up, and I've got the labels are kind of compromising the exact shape of the thing. So there you go again. So they just stack up one on top of the other on top of the other. Now we have 6 strings for each shape. We have 3 to 3, and we have 3 and 7 to 7. So that's what, and it's still got pattern labels there. You just stack this on top of this on top of this on top of that. Just have to know which 6 strings are we going to want to look at. We're going to want to do the A shape. We would take A to A and then warp these top 2 over. For the D shape, we would take D to D and warp these top 2 over one, and so on. So this is how the pattern works. You just have to remember that you have to warp the top 2 strings over, and when you go from 5 to 6, from the A shape to the E shape, you have to go over one. That's the only way that the pattern continues going to the left. So the pattern will go to the left. And it's amazing because, you'd think as you're going up, the pattern's going down, but it's not. It's going up in fourths. The actual notes are going up in fourths. The letter labels for the string patterns is going up in fifths, more or less. Okay, so this is yesterday's chart. It's 145 string shapes fretboard, but guess what? I've made a really good chart for you, string 146, and it's not as gaudy. Okay, these are the patterns for each of the 5 cage shapes, of which they repeat with the long fretboard. So you have C, A, G, E, D, but then it repeats C, A, G, E, D again. These are the tripentatonic. This is the 4th and the 5th of that C shape. The 4th in the G shape is a C shape. The 5th is a D shape. It's just 1, 4, 5. G, C, D. However, in the C shape, you do the diminished 4th. Again, everything in guitar, if it's going to, it's all 4th except one of the intervals is a diminished 4th. So it would be C going to E instead of F shape. There is no F shape. And then to G shape. And again, we have another instance of the augmented 5th, which is, I believe it would be E going to A, but instead of going to a B shape, there's no B shape, there's a C shape. And that centers around the missing fret, which has just got some labels on it. These labels are accurate. Okay, so they're exactly in the center of the string patterns. So down here you see the labels are surrounding the string patterns, but I actually save space. So here is the E shape 7 root 2 being the E. Here at 7 root 2 I just put the E right there in the no play note. That describes the 7 root 2. Of course you say, well, what about the 7 root? Isn't G part of that too? Yeah, well, they share that 7 root 2. And that shows you right here, there's your E shape and your G shape in the string pair circle, where the root and the 7th are shared in the G shape and the E shape. And this is looking at them individually. So we've got all the scale members of a major scale. So the E and the D shape share only the 2, the C and the A shape share only the 5, the A and the G shape share only the 6, but the GE shape and the DC shape share 2 notes, 7th and 8th and 3 and 4. And you can see that right here, the GE, here's your 7 and root, 8th I said, but it's root, and there's your DC with the 3 and the 4 shared there. So this particular drawing was fairly cluttered. You know, I showed if we look at the C and the A cages, so here's the C cage with C on the bottom, here's the A cage with A on the bottom, C and A sharing the 5th note right there. C shares the 5th note with A, just like it shows on the wheel here, on the string pair circle. So we're looking just at this cage, these 2 cages, the C and the A cage. So this diagram is the unwarped, it's the pattern stack for that part of the fretboard. And I've got them all labeled. So this one would be the E to the D one. So you have the E banner up here, the D banner up here, covering this zone here. And that would all be like this. So this is fairly cluttered, and this is why I made the new diagram today. So right there, here's the E cage and the D cage. They're cage linked. E goes to D and caged. And here is the unwarped, the pattern build, the pattern stack for that part of the fretboard. I went ahead and made a great new diagram this morning that clears up a lot of the clutter. So let's get on to that. This is chart 146, string shapes fretboard with targeted shared notes, 35 fret oversized fretboard. That's 35 frets. So what do we got here? This is pretty much the chart. We got an oversized Andy here. I forgot to resize the little voice box. Down here is just a little fretboard of interest. It's this fretboard without all the labels. But you see, I've simplified this thing. So we've got here, this is the same thing, the C cage and the A cage. But now I've actually embedded in that cage, in these 2 cages that are squared off by these 2 colors here. Here's the C bar color, the C banner color, and here's the A banner color. So this is our square of interest here, the C and the A. And they're all about sharing the 5. But that's only on the bottom string. So we have 3, 4, 5. Then 5, 6, A being the 5, 6 being the A pattern. Okay, so these are the cage link patterns, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6. In the E shape, we have 7 root 2, and then 2, 3, 4 to the D shape. A shape, we got 5, 6, 7 root with the G shape. Now I've got them actually, and so on, and we got them actually placed in on the fretboard. Now remember, we can use those bottom line caged diatonic scale fragments, those string patterns I call them. We can use them to build here. It's raining a lot. We could use them to build here. So here are the shared notes between each build. So these are the share notes between the C and the A. Over here in this pattern here, we've got the E and the D shape pattern. Now there is a shape here that's not being shown, and that would be right here. Okay, so it would be cage would be C, A, G. We're not showing the G pattern here. You see the G right there? But I've left the label there because if we're going to work with this C and A here, we're definitely going to want to maybe go to the right in a cage shape.